In 3 hours, fired FBI Director James Comey will appear before the Senate Intelligence Committee to testify about private conversations he had with President Donald Trump from the time he was president-elect through April, a month before he was abruptly fired. In a surprise move yesterday, the committee released Comey's opening remarks at his request, which give a detailed account of the interactions he had with Trump. 9 discussions altogether, 3 in person and 6 by phone. Their first meeting took place January 6th at Trump Tower. Comey said that after the meeting, he felt compelled to document that conversation and any future conversations on paper, something he never did with President Barack Obama. Trump later invited Comey to the White House for dinner, although Trump told NBC's Lester Holt in May that Comey asked to see him. Comey says the president told him, quote, "I need loyalty. I expect loyalty." Comey's reply, "I didn't move, speak, or change my facial expression in any way during the awkward silence that followed," but later told him, "You will always get honesty from me." On Valentine's Day, the day after Trump's national security advisor, Michael Flynn, was forced to resign, or Trump fired him, depending upon what lie we know today, Trump kept Comey in the Oval Office alone following an intelligence meeting. Comey says the president told him, quote, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He's a good guy." Comey said, quote, "I did not say I would let this go," adding, "I understood the president to be requesting that we drop any investigation of Flynn." In subsequent conversations, according to Comey's written testimony, Trump implored him to help lift the Russian, quote, "cloud that was hanging over his presidency, and let the public know that he personally was not under investigation." Now, yesterday, the Senate committee heard from 2 of Trump's intelligence chiefs who were peppered with questions about new reports that Trump asked them to publicly state that there was no collusion between his campaign and Russia. They all refused to answer for some strange reason.
I do not recall ever feeling pressured to do so.
I have never felt pressure to intervene or interfere in any way.
I'm not going to discuss the specifics of conversations with the President of the United States.
It's inappropriate for me to share that with the public.
I'm not going to answer any questions, Senator.
Why are you not answering
Because I
our
feel
questions?
it is inappropriate, Senator.
What you feel isn't relevant, Admiral. What you feel isn't the answer.
But things got real testy when freshman Senator Kamala Harris of California, former Attorney General of that state, former DA in San Francisco, got into a testy exchange with Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Let's go to Pete Hoekstra. Former Congressman Pete Hoekstra, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
So your assessment of yesterday's testimony, there was no legal reason why the intelligence chiefs would not reveal those conversations. U.S. senators were not particularly happy about that.
That's exactly right. I can understand why the senators would not be happy. I've been on that side of the dais before, where you're asking questions and the heads of the intelligence community, they're not being quite as forthright or open as what you'd want them to be. At the same time, I do have some understanding as to them saying, "I'm sorry, this is a private communications or discussion I had with the president. It doesn't really merit, it has no intelligence value. It doesn't really relate to the topic. And so I'm not going to get into private conversations." So you end up with what you had yesterday, kind of a standoff where nobody's really happy with the outcome.
When you looked at the statement released by Comey, what was your reaction to that? I mean, he clearly offered very detailed accounts of these conversations with Trump, and many legal experts say that the president was completely out of line in asking the FBI director to stop the Flynn investigation. Do you agree?
Well, a couple of things. You said what struck me first. The first thing that struck me is, Jim Comey today is going to be testifying in front of the Intelligence Committee because the Intelligence Committee has the authorization and it has the responsibility to track what's going on with the Russian probe, the investigation of what role did the Russians play in our 2016 elections. And there's no discussion at all in there of the of that topic. And the and so you get into all of this other stuff that the Intelligence Committee really is not in the best position to answer those questions. Is there obstruction of justice or any of those kinds of things? That's not what Jim Comey was talking about. That's not supposedly the premise as to why he would be brought in front of the Intelligence Committee. What we've lost focus here is the investigation is an investigation of the Russians, and it has evolved into an investigation of the President of the United States, when the intelligence chief yesterday said, hey, we felt no pressure. The other folks have indicated over the last number of months that there was no collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. There's some difference of opinion here between legal experts, but most people would say there's no evidence of obstruction of justice. Maybe the president said some things that were inappropriate, but not obstruction of justice.
But Congressman, you're saying that when Comey quotes him as saying, "Can you let this go?" An investigation of Mike Flynn, and he repeatedly did so. That's not obstructing justice?
No, I don't think it is obstruction of justice. We weren't in the room. I don't know what the context is in terms of exactly what the tone of voice is. It's one thing if the president says, I want you to let Mike Flynn go and I want you to back off of this, versus saying, hey, I really think Mike Flynn's a good guy, and I hope you can find a way to move on beyond this. He did, and the end result is the investigation for Mike Flynn is going on. That hasn't stopped, and the president, could have demanded that he stop the investigation. Didn't do that. It was, like I think most folks are saying, inappropriate, but not obstruction of justice.
Malcolm Nance, I want to bring you in. Looks like we got you back. Your assessment.
Well, let's set the political side piece aside. This investigation, as you said, is fundamentally an investigation about Russia. And it's not just about Russia. This is about the United States electoral process for the first time in this country's history, having a foreign government, through its foreign intelligence agencies, attempt to rig this election by engineering it through social media hacks and releasing information and weaponizing the regular day-to-day operations of the Democratic Party in favor of electing Donald Trump president. That being said, there is evidence that is out there now, and even worse than evidence, there's intelligence, which until it's turned over to the Department of Justice and the special counsel will become evidence that not only did Russia operate in this election, but that there is a possibility that U.S. citizens in the Trump campaign may have worked with and coordinated this hacking and the release of that information in order to elect Donald Trump president. This is not a regular FBI investigation. This is a spy hunt by the National Counterintelligence Division. This is not like any investigation that has ever taken place with any campaign in American history. The very fact that this investigation involves that division and has now entered into the immediate associates of the president, all right, is way more information than we need to know, that we need to make sure that the president of the United States, his associates, his family in this campaign are not working with the Russians.
When you look at Malcolm Nance, I got to ask you this here, and it'll be the final comment for you as well as for Pete Hoekstra. When you look at what took place yesterday, the intelligence chiefs refusing to speak to the issue, when you look at the anticipation of what Comey is going to say today, this is a president, his approval numbers are down to 34%. A majority of Americans say they believe that he acted inappropriately. This does not bode well for a president who hasn't even gotten to his 6th month in office.
Right, we're at 139 days, I believe, today, somewhere around there. This tells you the severity of what is going on. Donald Trump came in and started, to be quite honest, acting as if he was a real estate broker in New York and that he could engineer a game and a result that would prove favorable to him. Jim Comey today is essentially going to start answering questions to the information we now know, to where it becomes very apparent Donald Trump tried to kill the active Russian investigation, the investigation into Michael Flynn, which, by the way, has many components, which might be tantamount to espionage. So for him, and this information was presented to him along with President Obama before he was inaugurated, which means he is well aware of what the implications of all of this information about the Russian hacking, about Flynn's behaviors, about Sessions, and all the secret meetings with Kislyak and the Russians. He's very aware of what that means. And by stepping forward to kill it and to make it so that, or at least, how can I put it, spin it so that this is a nothing burger is absolutely unprecedented. And I think this is going to be the beginning of the end.
Pete Hoekstra, your final comment.
Hey, Malcolm, good luck. I can't believe the number of leaps of faith that I've heard over the last couple of minutes as to where this is going, or actually what has been said in terms of evidence of collusion. You've got all of the heads of the intelligence community who have said there's no evidence of collusion. You have multiple statements saying there's been no pressure from this White House to stop.
Hold on 1 second. Malcolm, hold on.
So, tantamount to the end. I'm sorry. I think, Malcolm, you maybe have an outcome that you're anticipating or you're hoping for, but it's not going to happen.
Malcolm, go ahead with your response, and then I'm going to move on to my panel. Malcolm, go ahead.
Well, with all due respect, Jim, I mean, I'm an intelligence professional. I'm not a journalist. I don't particularly care about what people's personal agendas are. I have seen more than enough just in open source to know where this thing's going. We have never had a White House that has had the spy hunters in it. And that should tell you all we need to know. We need to get to the bottom of this. And we need to know about why Jared Kushner, if it's true, wanted to use secure back-channel Russian encrypted communications so that the CIA and NSA couldn't get them. We've got way more stuff than Jim Comey's testimony happening here today. And I think this is all we are going to hear until the end of this administration.
All right, Malcolm, next. Nance, Pete Hoekstra, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to my panel. Ray Baker, host of Public Agenda Podcast. Lon Victoria Burke, political analyst and writer, NBC Black. Ralph Chittums, principal of Black Elephant Consultants. All right, folks, it is D-Day, if you will, for Jim Comey. Look, I understand Pete Hoekstra. Look, the Republicans are deploying as many people as possible, Ralph, to try to tamp down this. But I don't think anybody reads what Comey has already submitted, says the president was way out of line for the things that he asked of the FBI director.
Well, what the president said was inappropriate, no question about it. But he did not ask Comey to end the investigation. And that's a line that we have to understand, and it's a very clear line. What he said was, I hope you find a way to whatever it was he said.
I hope you can let this go.
But that is different. But that is different than saying to him, Jim Comey, end this investigation. What he said was inappropriate. He should not have done it, and Lauren, it puts him in a bad spot.
Our standards have become so low that if he doesn't say the exact words, end the investigation, then it's okay. So I hope you can see clear to let this go. It's fine with us. With a private meeting that he asked everybody to get out of the room for, including the Attorney General, that's how low our standards have become. Pete Hoekstra, who got the talking points from the RNC, faxed to him this morning about, oh, there's no collusion. Oh, because no one can prove collusion right now, so now we're okay. We've got the acting FBI director and the director of the NSA, Mike Rogers, unable to answer simple questions about conversations with the President of the United States with regard to stories in the Washington Post claiming that the President told them to shut up, and they won't answer that to the Senate Intelligence Committee. Are you kidding me? If this was Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, impeachment proceedings would have already started. And the Republicans want to sit here and have us believe that this is no big deal? I mean, it's a joke. And Comey is going to come in there in 2 hours and blow the lid off this thing. Because if you think his written testimony is the big thing, this is the bread on the table. This is nothing. Mueller hasn't even subpoenaed people yet. So hold on to your hats at 10 o'clock.
Right.
If Comey goes in and gives testimony and says that the president pressured me to end the investigation, the next place that Comey is going to be is Fort Leavenworth,
we already know that.
Ray,
give me a break.
So Ray,
yeah, okay.
So Ray, this is
back to reality.
Ray, this is very simple. If I'm the mayor of a city, and I call you in, and you're the district attorney, and I say, you know, I appreciate if you could let this go. Everybody knows what that means.
Right.
I wish that I had an ink pen that was really close to me right now that I would be able to use. If anybody sees one, go ahead and feel free to give me one. I didn't ask Lauren for the ink pen to be specific. However, I did intimate that I do need one and that I would want one handed to me and that she happened to have one. And so, Ralph, another thing that you alluded to, I think, and I don't want to get into the easy games of partisanship here, but what we have, and many people have identified it and no need to belabor the point, the president repeatedly treats his office as president of the United States as simply his place where he was a real estate magnate, where we know from his housing discrimination cases, where we know from his reckless use of treating his tenants that he doesn't operate with any moral code in that place, and thus he's operating in the same place without a moral code. And so, as Roland alluded to, when you look at someone and say, hey, can you let this go for me? You're well aware of saying, I cannot literally say the words, please stop investigating my friend, because that will have adverse outcome for me. The last point I would like to offer about this, and Congressman Hoekstra, reading the Republican talking points, began to allude to this. Hey, this inappropriateness has been a buzzword, right? Where folks are willing to concede one thing, but not willing to concede the next. If one deems this, well, we'll say it's inappropriate, but I won't go so far to say that's illegal. And that's because largely this person plays for, quote, my team, Republican, Democrat, et cetera.
Ralph? Illegal. What he said was not, he shouldn't have said it. And I started my comments with, he should not have said it. But he did not make a direct request of the director to end the investigation.
Come on, Ralph.
He did not do it.
I have a serious question for you.
Read what he
Ralph,
what did he say?
How much?
One second. Lauren, go ahead.
Letting this go. I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. What do you think that means, Ralph? Give me a break. If this was Ray on the street corner, would it be obstruction of justice? Of course it would be.
Loyalty means that you are going
want to get low for Donald
just because
Trump,
someone who's loyal is not a yes man.
The standard should be higher for the president, Ralph, not lower.
Are you serious?
If you're loyal to me, I don't want you to be a yes man. I want you to be able to come to me and tell me yes, no, right, wrong.
Okay.
But what I don't want you to do is when you disagree with me to run out and leak something to the media like Destiny Winner.
The media is worse than the president.
Yes, you want loyalty. But there's loyalty does not demand that you agree with me with everything that I do.
How explicit must a statement be in order for it to be directed?
Well, that's a hypothetical. I'm not getting into hypothetical.
Right. Hold on. I got you.
For the FBI director to end the investigation.
I didn't ask her for sex. All I said was, why don't you come to my room?
Right.
Is that what? So I didn't directly ask for sex, but it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said, why don't you come to my room? So I didn't directly, I knew what I was trying to get.
But I don't understand what your point is.
Oh, hell, you know my point is. Come on, dog. Bottom line is this here. Trump knew exactly what he was doing. Because, see, Ralph, when you ask everybody to leave the room,
right, twice,
and then he has in the
twice.
testimony that the Attorney General lingered, and he said,
"Get out."
Jeff, thank you very much.
And apparently,
I need to speak to him by himself. Then Jared lingered,
Jared
and he said,
lingered.
Jared, I need to speak to him by himself.
Comey said he did not feel pressured by the president to end the investigation.
Let's see what he
All right,
said.
y'all.
He said that.
Okay, hold tight one second. Okay, hold on, but remember, as long as this is the written testimony, wait till you hear the oral. A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.